sorry for my little cat. He's in heat and he cannot leave our house, so he's a little too active. Hello, here is DeTonorG or DeTonorG. Today I'll bring an analysis, a review of this game that is very special to me. I tried to record it in 2016 because of a request of a dear subscriber, but I failed. I got to the hole in the museum, but I had to stop because of personal reasons. But I really liked the game at the time, and I kind of regretted to not finish it. I finished the first game here in the channel, and since I was very young, I was fond of this game and the franchise as a whole. So I had a lot of expectations towards this game, and even though it's more psychological and spiritual, I still was satisfied. Today I'll talk specifically of the ending in water, which is the one I got, and it looks like the sad ending. And I'll also talk about the campaign of Maria, that is exclusive of this version, that is the director's cut. So before, I would just like to thanks artist friend that unconsciously motivated me into finally playing this game, because I was procrastinating. So I'd just like to wish him a lot of blessings and success. There's also some other signals that made me play this game, but I'll talk more about them in the point of the plot. So the technical specifications. This is a single player game released to many platforms at the time, but this version's director's cut, it was only for PS2 and PC. I played in the PS2. In this version, other than some enhancements, there's also an extra campaign to the character Maria. It was released in 2001 by Konami, and it was made by the director Masashi Tsuboyama. The style is horror, psychological horror, terror, survival horror, puzzle, and thriller. So the summary. The story is about James Sunderland, a man that is searching for his deceased wife in the Silent Hill town. He believes she's there because he got a letter from her, and that was their special place. So there will not only be his history, but also from other characters, and they could not be related to his history, but they will eventually cross the paths. And everything the characters go through this Silent Hill is related to trauma, like the first game. And James is about his marriage with Mary and its tragic ending. This is a game with a plot that is dense and heavy, but teaches us a lot about empathy, love, and fidelity. And I finished the main campaign in the normal difficulty in 10 hours and 10 minutes. It took me a week. And I finished the extra campaign of Maria in the hard difficulty in 1 hour and 40 minutes, and it took me 2 days. In the total, it is 11 hours and 50 minutes and 9 days. So now let's go to what matters, the pros and cons. I had to change the webcam. So the first positive point is the manual. It's something that I like to read before playing the game to understand better the idea of the developers. And it's very good. You can see the attention and the love they put on it. Has many details. I will show you a photo. as you can see, is very pleasant in the eyes and useful. So the second positive point is the atmosphere. The atmosphere of this game is amazing. It's not as oppressive as in the first game, but it gives what matters. That is the atmosphere of emptiness, solitude, and depressiveness. So the third positive point is the narrative. So the way the characters develop and how they interact with us and the world around them is impressive and realistic. And it's a point that improved from the first game, because the first game they looked more like bad actors. The fourth positive point is the immersion. So together the atmosphere and the narrative can make us get really emotionally attached and worried about the characters. And I can bet that if you pay attention, really pay attention to the game, you will end up crying like me. And the fifth positive point is the characters. The characters, they feel a big role in this game. Since unlike the first game, here the characters, they have their own plot, problems, traumas, and as I said, they are more realistic. So I'll talk more about how good they are in the part of the story. So now my favorite secondary character here is Eddie. Not only he has like the same beginning of the name as me, Ed, but to me he is essential to the plot, the development of the characters throughout his extreme ways. We can use him as a reference. But I will also give credits to the character Angela. She has a dark history and is very realistic. And now the sixth positive point is the content. Here they made an exceptional work. Here there is many points to explore and bonuses like the big sword or the chest. There is also many endings, also many weapons, even though I have a complaining about the melee weapons. So the mechanic is to change the attacks. I found them to be confused since they depend on the pressure you apply in the buttons of the PS2. But I could not understand it. And when I finished the game, I searched about it. It was about the pressure, but it was not intuitive since I could not understand it by myself. And so I would say this mechanic is not intuitive. So the seventh positive point is replayability. It talks by itself in the point of content, because there's a lot of endings and etc. So this eighth positive point is the gameplay. Here they made something that I like a lot. They kept what is good and just added. So it's slow and clunky, but it helps in the tension. It also has the options to get a more dynamic gameplay, a more easy one, and also gives us more options of difficulty in the puzzles and in the enemies to make the gameplay more pleasant. But there's also an element in the gameplay that made the game boring to most people. But I'll discuss more about it, the negative points. So the ninth positive point is the graphics. The graphics are amazing for the PS2, which honors the first game in the PS1. They also look amazing. One thing here that is very good is the lights. It's a typical sunset light or from incandescent bulbs that also always remind me of the opening in Silent Hill 3. So the 10th positive point is the puzzles. I found them to be very creative, honoring the puzzles of Silent Hill 1, and mainly in the part of the labyrinth. But I'll talk more about it when I talk about my favorite part. So the 11th positive point is the story. It's simply amazing. So it touches in some complex or taboo themes like infidelity, abandonment, domestic violence, abuse, blind justice, the dangers of the mental disorders, the innocence, forgiveness, and acceptance. Above it all, you need a lot of love and empathy to understand the story. That's why I consider this game definitely a Silent Hill. So about the characters have their own history makes Silent Hill more of a purgatory other than a place related to a demon or a satanic cult. Yes, it made the game look more psychological and less grotesque, but I still found it to be a good thing because it can expand the universe of Silent Hill. But I do prefer the first game history that is more grotesque and shockful. The story in the campaign of Maria, even though it reveals some important stuff about the nature of the characters, I didn't find it very Silent Hill-esque. It was kind of boring. So the 12th positive point is the plot. So now talking about the other signal that motivated me to play this game that I mentioned in the beginning has to do with my constant fight with the carnal desires, with my flesh, which I know is one of the worst sins that we all have to fight. So I am a young Christian, and one of the things that the Heavenly Father freed me from is the lust. And from the little I knew about the plot of Silent Hill, I know it had to do with lust, and it was the case. Because during the story, the characters are also constantly fighting with the desires of the flesh. And in the ending I had, it was very sad because the character simply gave up on keep fighting. And the music in this ending is also very brutal, but I'll talk more about it in the point of the soundtrack. One thing that I learned is that the Heavenly Father talked to us in very mysterious ways, and one of those ways is through the works of humans. Like he can use other humans, and games is one of those things, and I have experienced that. So I wanted to try this game because I was guessing it had something to tell me. So another thing that is very interesting here is the symbolism of the monsters. They play with the lust, provocative, and it creates a discomfort on the player. So the plot is very good, show us only what's necessary, and it keeps a rhythm that is just the necessary to keep us motivated. So the 13th positive point is the taboo. I appreciate when they touch in themes that are necessary to talk about, but people are too afraid to talk. And as I said in the point of the story, they do a lot of it here. So the 14th positive point is the horror. Even though it's very good in many moments, I still prefer the horror in the first game, because it was more oppressive, more shockful, and it gave us less time to recover and rest. So the weight of the horror here is more psychological. It shows more some feelings like the grief and the incapacity of helping those who you love. How they portray the effects of the traumas on us is well made. One example would be the character Angela.
Relax.
Don't order me around!
I'm not trying to order you.
So what do you want then? Oh, I see. You're trying to be nice to me, right? I know what you're up to. It's always the same. You're only after one thing.
No, that's not true at all.
You don't have to lie. Go ahead and say it.
Something that we can consider here is the discomfort in the symbolism of the monsters. Even me, who is already desensitized to those sexual matters, it caused to me some discomfort, so it should cause a lot of discomfort in those who are more pure of heart. So the 15th positive point is the terror. It's simply amazing. So the game takes advantage of a more abstract and open to distortion Silent Hill that goes beyond the one from the first game that before was stuck in because of the story. So the quality of the terror is very good. You can already see the quality of the terror in the beginning when we are entering Silent Hill through a dirty path. It makes us very insecure. So the 16th positive point is the violence. Even though, as I said in the part of the horror, this game is not as grotesque, it can still show the violence through a less explicit manner, with a plot and a story that is heavy and with many details, like the traumas, how the characters are dealing with it, and the symbolism of the monsters, as I said. So the 17th positive point is the soundtrack and sound effects. So the soundtrack is very good, and as expected from the Akira Yamaoka. It helped a lot in the sad parts, in the horror, making scenes that otherwise would not look scary at all. So it's very powerful. The only thing that I missed is those more industrial sounds, like in the beginning of the Silent Hill 1 when the monsters appeared, or when we crossed the bridge. It's still here, but not as present. And I said before, the ending was brutal with the sound. It even made me cry. It was like a very strong shock, like when you were mourning after the death of someone you loved, and your neighbor, he decides to throw a heavy party and play some happy song, and it feels like your world is crashing. I felt like that. So now talking about the cons, the negative points. So the first negative point is having to see the Big P taking Maria from us. Is the difficulty. It's too easy. I played in the normal difficulty and I only died once, and it was because of a puzzle. I simply didn't die by any bosses. So the second negative point is in the gameplay. First is the scene of the boat. It was good. I understood the point, but the gameplay was erratic and unnecessarily confused and complicated. The bosses, as I said, they were too easy, not as creative like in the first game. It simply run and shoot. There was no big and there was no special mechanics like in the first game. Like in the first game, there was the worm, there was that bee or something. The bosses were all different and interesting, mechanic wise and difficult wise. In here, there's nothing like that. So here, the third negative point is the content, but also have something to do with the gameplay. The lack of enemies. There is much less than in the first game. There is only 6 in comparison with 11 in the first game. I believe it was the reason that made this game very boring to many people. Simply the city looked more dead, less vivid than in the first game. So now talking about my favorite part. My favorite part is the labyrinth. So there is some good puzzles in this part, my favorite being the hanging man. There's also some big revelations and gives me some vibes of the sewers from the Silent Hill 1. I was just a little disappointed with the appearance of the big pig around the head. Other than that, it was good and fun to play. So now talking about the rating. So it's 17 positive points divided by 20 total points. It gives us 8.5. I won't give it plus 1 point because I still prefer the first game style. So that's it. It was an amazing game to play and I should have played it before, mostly because of the story and plot. Just so you know the quality of those things here, I took some spoilers, some little spoilers in all those years that I was trying to avoid to play it, and still it surprised me in many ways. Definitely a big Silent Hill game, but I still a fan of the Keiichiro Toyama director from the first Silent Hill game, who also made the Siren franchise, so maybe it's just taste, but there's it. I understand why now people like so much this game. It's beautiful, it's heavy, it is original, and it brings us many aspects of the Silent Hill franchise. So I hope you liked the video. Subscribe, share to your friends to help me keep making more content like this, and peace be with you.